Creativity. What is creativity? Creativity, as I would define, is a phenomenon whereby something somehow new and somehow valuable is created. That created item may be intangible, such as an idea, or it could be something physical, like an object. This naturally coincides with problem solving, where one has to find a method or a process to solve a complex issue or a difficult issue. There are some that would say that these are few of the characteristics that define an engineer. This is because engineers must use their creativity in problem solving almost everywhere that they apply their expertise on. Whether you're a civil engineer, a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, a computer engineer, it doesn't matter. Every engineer will need some degree of creativity to find a solution towards any given set of issues or problems. Because regardless of the field, an engineer will always be faced with problems that they need solutions to. An engineer's creative and problem-solving skills will be invaluable to any project, as these skills will be needed and used along every step of the project from the very beginning to the very end. This is vital to the design process, as most projects are designed and geared towards a certain problem they are tackling and that the designer needs a solution to. These problems can range from the very inception of such an idea to how can we implement such an idea, or even testing the idea for potential flaws or shortcomings. As these activities will require some amount and degree of creative problem solving, they are indispensable to any kind of engineer. At any moment, an engineer could be faced with an unexpected obstacle when implementing an idea, or even complete changes to the specification that will be needed from the project. An engineer will need to use their creative problem-solving skills to find a solution to these new problems. In this presentation, we will further discuss the relevance of creativity in engineering, the applications, along with the impact of how engineers have used their creativity, and whether or not such creativity should be controlled in regards to any kind of concerns related to the ethics of such unhindered creativity. Lastly, we will also speculate how and where engineers will use their creative problem-solving skills, and if there will be any kind of challenges or opportunity one may face when exercising such creative problem-solving. I will now turn it over to my teammate Heather, who will tell us about how and where creative problem-solving skills could come into play for engineers. Thank you.
So, how and where is creativity used in engineering? There are, of course, the obvious examples. One of the greatest creative efforts of the past century was putting mankind on the moon. The sheer intensity of engineering know-how required in order to achieve the feat of sending people to walk on the face of an entirely different planetary body, utterly hostile to humans, and to bring them back unharmed is nearly beyond belief. This monumental feat could not have been even conceived of, let alone realized, without an immense amount of creativity which is necessary to solve the innumerable problems that arose along the way. Since then, humanity has come a long way. With the space shuttle and the museum, new innovations have arisen, such as SpaceX and Tesla, doing outrageous things such as launching the Roadster into space as the payload instead of using a boring concrete block, created a brilliant marketing stunt that caught the eyes of millions of people all over again. However, drawing attention to the classic types of engineering isn't the only way creativity and problem-solving are used in engineering. Creativity and problem-solving are actually evident in the most mundane and ordinary aspects of our everyday life. Again, there are obvious examples such as smartphones, but even in things such as our bed frames, furniture, and drinking glasses, creativity was needed to make it a functional piece of equipment. Not all innovation is immediately interesting. Some things can seem boring at first, but everything has a beginning. Every aspect of the clip art pictured to the side here is innovative. Personally, I am disinterested in surveying, but every aspect of it had to be created. For instance, the tripod has collapsible legs to aid in transportation, and the laser has been upgraded from simply strings and stakes in the ground. The surveyor's clothing has evolved to be mass-produced and more comfortable, and finally, his hard hat has evolved to keep him safer from the threat of falling bricks than in the past. Take his hard hat, for instance. The first iteration of a hard hat was designed in 1919 by World War II veteran Edward Bullard, who witnessed the effectiveness of hard hats in combat. Because the combat hat was much too bulky, he designed the hat using hard leather for miners and called it the hard-boiled hat. This hat has evolved through the years to the modern hard hat seen to the left of the screen, incorporated also with hearing protection. Of course, we could do this with any individual object by tracing its history and different iterations to better understand the creative impulses that went into improving every aspect of it and every detail, no matter how small. Creativity and problem solving are used outside of the classic areas of engineering quite frequently. Sound engineering, for example, is one where creativity is an immediately apparent aspect of the job. But what happens when creativity and problem solving aren't encouraged in an engineering environment? The workplace can become miserable, leading to a drop in productivity, worker stagnation, and generally produces bad results for the company. The Dilbert comic strip pokes fun at a toxic work environment filled with stifled and misguided creativity as well as general misery. At one point in the strip, Wally, the poor soul in the clown costume, automates his work emails sent to his boss so that he doesn't notice that Wally has not come to work in months. Due to a glaring lack of creativity and making it impossible to solve problems in the workplace, the company has a plague of misery over all of the employees. Do you really think that an environment like this fosters creativity and problem solving? However, to address a lack of creativity in adulthood, you first have to address where creativity begins. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, the overriding premise is that play, or some available free time in the case of older children and adolescents, is essential to the cognitive, physical, social, and emotional well-being of children and youth. The link to adulthood should be clear. Without free time to pursue your goals and interests, it is much more difficult to achieve your full potential. One can work hard in every minute of every day, and yet their work will still not be as productive as someone who is able to effectively solve problems by applying creativity and problem-solving skills they have been honing since a child.
In this part of the presentation, we're going to be talking about problem solving and creativity in engineering and how we can use creative thinking to solve problems. So the first example of this would be artificial intelligence, and briefly what artificial intelligence is it's some sort of simulation of human intelligence in machines, but are programmed to think like humans by mimicking their actions, such as learning and problem solving. And I have 4 different industries that use artificial intelligence to solve these problems, and the first of which is the healthcare industry. The healthcare industry uses artificial intelligence to recommend personalized medicine to patients, to remind the patients to take their medicine when they need to remind them to exercise or eat healthy foods regularly, and it can also be used in x-rays to find tumors or reference millions of data points to identify whether a cancer is malignant or benign. Artificial intelligence can also be used in manufacturing to connect different parts of equipment together to assemble a marketable product, and the machinery is programmed with artificial intelligence to produce less faulty products when compared to humans, which is beneficial because you'll have less faulty equipment and it produces them at a greater quantity. It can also be seen in food processing also, as well as assembling products. In the retail side, artificial intelligence can locate patterns in consumer purchasing and recommend similar products based on their purchase history, and it allows consumers to see products that are more personalized and useful in their online shopping experience, as well as increase the likelihood that they're purchased something useful that is recommended to them, which increases revenue for the retailer. In banking, artificial intelligence is used with finance institutions as well to identify which transactions have come from fraudulent sources, as well as process credit the finance history of individuals at a much faster rate to give them feedback on an individual's credit score. Another form of problem solving in engineering is computer vision, which is a subset of artificial intelligence. And computer vision is enabling computers to see, identify, and process images in the same way that a human vision does, and then provide appropriate output based on what it sees. So in the retail system, a system of cameras is used to locate customers, identify them, and find patterns in their behavior. The cameras can also detect faces of customers, find distinct characteristics of customers such as their age or gender, and they also determine the direction that customers gaze in when they're in the store. So this information can be used to see which items should be placed where when customers are inside. These cameras also add a level of security in the store. Just in case there is a person that's shoplifting, you can use facial recognition technology to find out who is the person that was shoplifting inside of the store. Computer vision can also be used to manage inventory because the cameras can go around the store and start scanning products and see which products are remaining compared to when the store opened, to see how many products have been sold and exactly which products are remaining and what those products are. In manufacturing, cameras can be attached to robots that go around a warehouse and scan all the products in the room, and these robots detect which products are faulty and which were manufactured properly, which minimizes the number of defective products purchased by a consumer. Self-driving cars have computer vision as well, with which there are cameras attached to the cars which allow them to see. Like computer vision in images and videos, these cameras allow the car to have object detection capabilities, such as the ability to detect nearby cars, pedestrians, white and yellow marks on the road to separate lanes, and traffic lights. Using multiple sensors and services including laser beams, radar, cameras, sonar, navigational system, self-driving cars can detect distances from surrounding objects that identify them. Most self-driving cars have a deliberate architecture that means they can make artificially intelligent decisions by two means: by preserving an internal map of the world adjacent to the car using an internal map to take the car to a desired destination. The internal map will also be used to see which is the best path to reach the destination that has the fewest obstacles, pedestrians, roadwork in between where the car is and where it's trying to go. The two main concepts that enable a car to be self-driving are obstacle avoidance and path planning. We can also use image processing to solve problems, and image processing is a method to perform some operation on an image in order to gain an enhanced image or extract any form of meaningful information from the original image. And the input of image processing is, you guessed it, it's an image, and the output may be an image or any features associated with the original image. There are three steps of image processing. There's importing an image, observing and mutating the image, and obtaining an output image or any feature associated with the original image. Relevant applications of image processing are facial, fingerprint, and eye recognition. Other applications include image sharpening, restoration, remote sensing, transmission and encoding, machine vision, color processing, pattern recognition, video processing, and microscopic imaging. Image processing can be used to segment objects from each other and make it easier to identify those objects or to count them. And lastly, we have the development of green technology, where the goal of green technology is to protect the environment and, in some cases, repair past damage that has been done to the environment. Examples of green technology include technology infrastructure used to recycle waste, purify water, create clean energy, and conserve natural resources. More than 80% of the wastewater used to produce clean water is not treated or reused, so key developments include membrane filtration, microbial fuel cells, nanotechnology, development of biological treatments, and natural treatment systems such as wetlands. And all the named processes are used to make water more drinkable and significantly reduce the presence of pollutants in water that is discharged into seas and rivers. Green technology is used to purify water resources around the world, and in parts of the world where there's scarce water resources, green technology is used to purify dirty water or remove salt from seawater in order to increase the availability of drinking water.
There are a number of challenges when it comes to problem solving. It is not always a straightforward process, and at times requires collaboration with others as well as self-management. This is why the ability to solve problems in an effective and timely manner without much difficulty is critical to being successful. One of the first challenges I would like to discuss is the difficulty in recognizing when a problem exists. The starting point to any problem-solving activity is first and foremost identifying what the problem is. Often this step can be overlooked either because of laziness or because of pride. If someone considers a problem to be insignificant, too much work, or even as something to be out of their pay grade, the problem will most likely be bypassed and ignored until someone else comes along to discover it. This can cause the original problem to snowball into a much bigger one, and more time will be lost trying to fix it. Pride can also stand in the way of identifying a problem. Most people enjoy being right, so to suggest that there is a problem with their work could be very offensive. It is important to remember that no one is perfect, and problems are always bound to happen. But by quickly recognizing our mistakes and defining the problem, the faster a solution can be approached. Another challenge the problem solvers may face is the size of the problem. Generally, a team is assembled to solve large issues. However, it is important to remember that there are problems that may sometimes need more than one team. For this reason, it is encouraged to know your team's strengths and its weaknesses to determine how a large problem should be broken down. Working in teams helps distribute the weight of the problem, and it prevents one person from having to carry a responsibility that is far too big. You need to be organized as well when breaking down a large problem, as sometimes it can feel overwhelming to have so many smaller problems to work on. Do not lose sight of the main problem, as it is possible to lose sight of the main solution as well. For smaller problems, it is critical to remember that they are necessary and should not be overlooked, for they could lead to bigger problems in the future. A more difficult challenge, in my opinion, is knowing what to do and when it is necessary to do it. For some, the best solution is immediate action, but this can be considered a downfall in some problem-solving scenarios. Acting too quickly does not leave time to gather information and understand all the different pieces of a planned solution. On the opposite end, waiting too long can also have counterproductive effects, such as the client not receiving the product when they expected it. It is important to balance both eagerness and laxity. It can be a real challenge for many problem solvers to wait for the proper time to act, even when the solution appears to have a clear and direct path. The last challenge I would like to discuss is the failure to address every aspect of the problem. It is impossible to complete a puzzle without all the necessary pieces, and problem solving is not too different. Without having all the information needed for a problem, it is very likely that the solution found for that problem will be incomplete if reached at all. Time would be wasted having to go back to the beginning to research what was missing the first round. Using different methods that depend on the problem are useful in preventing any missing pieces. Luckily, there are problem-solving methods that work for multiple scenarios, and with practice, it becomes easier to identify which problem requires which method. Problem-solving methods use important steps that evaluate every aspect of the problem before determining a solution. These steps help you gather all the information that you have received and need to research and map out a thorough plan in achieving your goals. It is also very important to not stress or get too overwhelmed. When trying to see the big picture or finding important small details, it is helpful to have a clear and focused mind. Stress can cause health issues as well as increase the difficulty for problem-solving scenarios. While there are many challenges in problem solving and creativity, there are also many resources and opportunities that luckily go along with it. A few resources that help in problem solving are web resources, books, articles, blogs, and news reports. Even your creative intelligence skills can be used as a resource. There are many books and articles about problem solving, as well as tools to practice problem solving scenarios. These books and articles help sharpen your mind and prepare you for future problem solving. All these resources provide a wealth of knowledge in different problem-solving methodologies and techniques, as well as offer various perspectives. This can be useful when you feel stuck or overwhelmed that the solution is not in sight. Becoming skilled in problem-solving helps with achieving many different career opportunities, such as being a lawyer, engineer, physician, chief executive, teacher, and many more. These career opportunities look for problem-solving skill sets that can be used for research and analysis, decision-making, and communication, to name a few. People with these strong skill sets are desired by countless workplace environments, as they prove to be incredibly useful when working with a variety of problems.
Engineering is the practice of leveraging science and technology to solve problems in society. Engineering in general can be considered a creative pursuit, as engineers typically need to think outside of the box to find innovative and novel approaches to solving these problems. It's not enough, however, to simply solve these problems if we do not rigorously follow standards to ensure that our efforts do not end up causing harm. The most common ethical concern engineers face is that of ensuring that we plan things thoroughly and completely so that our creations are reliable and safe for their intended uses. This covers things like a structural engineer making sure that a building does not collapse in on itself. This ethical concern mainly deals with ensuring that proper research is done and that proper considerations are made prior to breaking ground on any project to ensure that no undue harm comes to any human, animal, natural environment, or property as a result of our solutions to problems. This is, however, not the only ethical consideration. Recently, more than previously, there has been increasing emphasis on ensuring that solutions to problems are deployed in ethical ways as well. A chemical engineer may design a perfect industrial process for producing a chemical, but other considerations need to be made before you can ethically open a new factory, such as what are the environmental impacts, could this process be harmful to workers, and what can go wrong and how can we minimize harm in that case. In the field of technology, mainly electrical engineering, computer engineering, and computer science, the most widely accepted code of ethics is the one published by the IEEE. This 10-point code covers professional protocol and rules of behavior for technology professionals. In general, this code requires us to uphold the highest standards of integrity, responsible behavior, and ethical conduct in professional activities, to treat all persons fairly and with respect, to not engage in harassment or discrimination, and to avoid injuring others, and finally to strive to ensure that this code is upheld by colleagues and co-workers. Probably the most well-known case study of an ethical failure in the engineering community, the Hyatt Regency walkway disaster, deals with ensuring that things are planned completely and scrutinized at every step. During the construction of the Hyatt Regency in Kansas City, Missouri, a structural engineer hastily signed off on a seemingly minor alteration to an overhead walkway. Unbeknownst to them was the fact that the alteration majorly changed how load was distributed to the supports. In July of 1981, the walkway collapsed during a celebration, resulting in 330 casualties, 114 of which were fatal. This is the second most deadly structural collapse in American history, behind only the September 11th attacks in 2001, 20 years later. A new ethical concern that the technology community is facing is that of dealing with massive loss of available work due to automation. Some have taken to calling it a second industrial revolution, one that has the potential to shake the foundations of society to its core, something that many agree we are not ready to deal with as a species. Deepfakes are an example of a technology that can be abused by users in ways that engineers and scientists never intended. Deepfakes refer to using generative adversarial neural networks to create images and videos of people without their consent. Victims of this practice can find themselves in situations where someone else produced footage of them saying or doing something they never did, violating their integrity as a person. While not overly controversial yet, the field of facial recognition is brewing with ethical dilemmas, as controversial bids by parties such as law enforcement and intelligence agencies have revealed the potential horrors of releasing such powerful technology to uninitiated parties that act solely to fulfill the agendas, even if they do it with public interest in mind.